My dear friends, from those of you who were on the original site, the original page, the original platform, I'm sorry we had to shift to this one because of a mistake that I'm not even going to explain to you. I'm not going to tell you what happened because if I do, it's a waste of time. And then somebody will say, refresh, and then I'm going to get these unsolicited suggestions. But anyway, we're here. My utmost apologies for any confusion. But tonight, today, and I wanted to keep that original group, the questions, the statements about soulmates, and the philosophy of love versus hate. I can only pray that we are able to reinvigorate this. Our discussions, not me, you, us, have been so good. Whereas the actual interstitial examinations of, who said what, those are interesting. But we're going to something different. We're going to the psychological profiles of the people involved, up to and including Charlie and Candace. And what this was and what it represents, and the depravity of the people who were involved in this. And a little heads up, tomorrow we're going to go to the idea of whether we have been completely wrong. What if, this is for tomorrow, but I'll give you a little hint. What if the real assassin or assassins is somebody or someone or those we never thought about ever? But my friends, let us wait, let us continue, let us please. Before we begin, before we move on into this, let me remind you, let me thank you for being here. My apologize for the confusion, my apologies rather. But first, this critical word from our critical sponsor. Everybody's talking about AI, a smarter future, a faster future, everything connected, everything in the cloud. Well, what happens? What happens when it breaks? What happens when the system holding your money gets hacked or artificial intelligence becomes sophisticated enough to identify patterns and exploit weaknesses and target the accounts you trusted with your financial future? Think about it. How much of what you own exists only as numbers on the screen? That's why so many Americans are choosing something real, physical gold, physical silver, assets you can actually hold. Click the special link below to learn how Noble Gold can deliver precious metals to your door or place them in a tax-advantaged retirement account. And to celebrate America's 250th birthday, viewers who use my link and open a new qualified account will receive a free 10-ounce silver bar. In an increasingly digital world, own something real. Protect what you've earned. Click the special link below now. I can only think, my friends, I can only think of those people who don't understand the complexity and the genius and the fascination that I have and you have for what's going on regarding this case involving Charlie and Candace and Erika and the whole group. It is deeper than the holler, as I think the great Randy Travis would sing. It is deeper than anything we can imagine. What inspired me today was a phrase that I find myself saying all the time. And that is, I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand. This doesn't make sense to me. You have no idea. I'm not going to go into detail, but I have a lot of friends in various levels of the media world. And we always talk about the stupid, boneheaded idiocy that we see on a regular basis. And we always say, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Certain things that, believe me, I could go through it. So what I don't understand, and maybe you can help me. Every single day, if I walked in to TPUSA, and I was an advisor. Let's say I was an advisor, I was a consultant, I was somebody. And I said, let me look at this. And I said, well, I'm going to make a few suggestions. And the first thing we're going to do is this. Could you introduce me to, could you please show me who this Andrew Kolvet is and Blake Neff? Could you bring them here? Oh, are you Andrew? Good. You're fired, or you're on sabbatical, or you're on a holiday, or you're on a blackout period, whatever it is, you're gone. We have been looking at and reviewing everything that's going on in the world of social media. Social media is in and of itself, not only, it's almost a separate forum for everything that we're talking about here. And we are seeing from just a cursory review that maybe 90% of everything that is happening, and you sit down, Erika, we'll get to you in a moment, but 90% of everything seems to be Andrew and Blake the Flake. Can you tell me why? Can anyone tell me why these are the people? Why? Why are these folks, maybe you can help me with this, why are you still employed? Why are you employed? This is something which is very important, very critical, something that maybe I'm the only one who can, I guess, make this make sense. But why in the name of God are you here? You have not said anything about TPUSA. You've said nothing about Charlie's vision or Charlie. You are in a constantly bitch slapping, cat fighting with Candace Owens. Now, can anybody tell me why that is a good idea? Can anyone tell me why that makes sense? Am I missing something here? Can anyone explain to me why you're always talking about defending yourself and talking about Candace? This is going to stop. You have got to be removed immediately. You've got to be fired immediately. You've got to be removed immediately. This is a sub issue which I find fascinating. And it's an issue which I don't think I can explain any better than what I'm doing. I've always been fascinated, and I'm telling you, by organizations. How do organizations work? I have had the opportunity to work for a lot of different people, a lot of them media. Legal's a different world. Legal's a different kettle of fish, as it were. Because yeah, you can deal with that, but if you're in a firm versus you deal with your private practice or a street lawyer or whatever it is, you're different. But just in terms of corporate, I have met, without a doubt, some of the biggest idiots of my life who are in corporate world. I mean, I have worked with ABC network. This is ABC at its prime. When WABC, but ABC was before Disney bought. I mean, it was a monster. Rush Limbaugh, Bob Grant. I mean, huge. We were affiliated with ABC. It was big. It was huge. And believe it or not, you didn't have mistakes that were so glaring where you said, why are you doing that? There was programming, and there was sales, and there was production or promotion, I should say, and engineering. That's for example, that's a radio station. You got programming, the person on the air. Who do you get? Hiring the people. What the product? What do you hear on the air? Sales, putting the spots, buying the that feeds you. Promotion is kind of interesting, kind of promoting the show and maybe working with advertisers. And then engineering, of course, making sure the signal's on. That's it. That's radio. And invariably, the people in engineering are the weirdest people. You could convict them of any crime any crime by just bringing them out and telling the jury, listen, I know I don't have anything here. I know I don't have any, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't have any evidence or any confessions, but just look at this guy. If you want to let him go, that's up to you. That's most engineers. They were just, wow, on another planet. Okay. But every now and then somebody would come along and they would realize they really don't know what they're doing, do they? And there would be somebody, just bear with me because you'll see what's going on. It was somebody who maybe was in radio, but he was in radio in like sales, or he was in a small market, or he owned a cluster. You know what follows with a cluster, don't you? I mean, that's that kind of thing. Okay. And you would realize they don't know what's going on, do they? They don't know what's going on. They have no idea of issues. They don't live. They don't know how. And I would think, how is this person making decisions about understanding the audience, knowing what you feel, knowing what you like, knowing what draws you, knowing what, you know what I mean? How do they? Okay. That's all I got to say. Every moron you could tell who didn't listen to the radio station, or maybe was conservative or in a liberal station, or a liberal this is talk for the most part. Music, luckily, it's pretty straightforward, but it never seems to amaze me. Okay. Can you tell me, why is Andrew Kolvet? Why is he even there? Why? He and Numbnuts, Blake the Snake, they're going after Rob O'Neill, and they're having their own kind of bought and paid for ballistics expert. They're arguing about ballistics on their show, and it doesn't make any sense. Audio engineer here, I agree with you. Oh, audio engineers are, but let me explain something. Let me go back a little bit. I don't want to blaspheme. Today, there are engineers who are really brilliant. Music. George Martin's more of a producer, but they know how to work sound, and they're great at, because engineering and production for programming, for podcasting, it involves a lot of things. I'm talking about the guy who walks around, who, give you an example. I don't want to bore you with the radio thing, but you might find it interesting. There's one thing you do not want to ever do, is be off the air. If you're off the air for 1 second, these alarms go on. There's like there's the room where they have the guts of the, I don't know what it is, but the red lights and the blinking lights, and it's cold, and it's to keep, because there's so many, anyway, to keep the machines, not overheating. But they have these red lights that go on. And and when you're off the air, get out of the hallway, because sometimes there's not a lot of room, because normally the engineers will fly. People will fly. We're off the air. They'll pick up the phone. We're off the air. I mean, it doesn't happen that often, but it's like, code red, DEFCON 1, whatever you want to call it. We had one guy, this is the best, head engineer. When somebody walked up and said, George, we're off the air. You know what his response was? Normally it'd be like, get out of the way, like almost like, kind of like Turek, with the CPR or whatever he purportedly did. He said, I'll bet you it's the relay. It's the relay patch. And he's talking about what he thinks might be the reason why we're off the air, as opposed to fixing. All right, that's an example. That's just an example. What we're doing right now is moving opinion. We're not zeroing in on certain things. Sometimes, and I say this, sometimes I feel that people need, whenever you're talking about something too interstitially, to back up a little bit and give people an idea of where the whole thing is. What's the theme of the story? say a little bit enough about it, and then move on. What's the big picture here? I thought when Candace today was talking about something that I had talked about the other day, I'm not saying she in any way, it's called parallel development. But I mentioned two things to you. Parasites, she gave some great parasites. I like the ants that change you and whatever. Parasites versus scavengers. A parasite, parasitism, versus what's the opposite of parasitism? Symbiosis. The remora that latches onto the shark gill works with the shark by eating the various parasites or whatever it is. The shark appreciates it. They work together. It's a wonderful, it's symbiosis versus parasitism. They used to have in Florida, you could see these birds that would sit on top of these cattle, big cattle in Florida. And they would sit there, and you always see, I don't know what they were, not egrets, but they were something. And they would sit there and they would pick off, and the cow said, be my guest. Normally the cow would say, get off my back. No, that's symbiosis. Parasitism, different story. The parasite works almost like the virus. Do you know that when COVID was explaining, do you know that nobody ever explained the beauty of the virus? The beauty of the virus. The virus is so, I think I'd want to be a virus. Because if I'm going to be something, I want something that's got some panache. Bacterium and bacteria are, well, they infect. They cause inflammation. You know, they're pretty much kill them. It's in the, the bloodstream. Don't get me wrong. Some bacteria are kill you, but that's different. A virus goes in and it changes. It's like, it's not living. That's what they do. The debate, is a virus living? No, it's not living. It's not a living thing. You can't kill it with a drug. It goes in and it almost like it's like the guy who breaks in and rewires, kind of like mRNA does in a different way, but it almost like goes in and it inhabits, it takes over and reconfigures things. It's incredible. Like the HIV. And I hate when people say HIV virus. It's HI virus or ATM machine. No, it's AT machine. VIN number. No, it's VIN number. Anyway. That's a virus. But why the virus and the parasite, what they have in common is that both of them want the host to be alive. They're no good if the host is not alive. They're no good. The virus doesn't want to kill you either. The virus wants to keep you dead. If you're dead, it's dead. It's so interesting. There's a methodology that is being exhibited, a methodology that we can't see, but it's there. When the host dies, then comes the scavengers. They say, fine, get out of the way. We're right here. We don't mind the smell of funk and putrescence. We only prefer that it's not even a host. This is carrion. This is rotting putrescence. This is dead material. A lot of animals don't like that. I told you snakes are very funny about that. That's why the water moccasin is such a badass. Most snakes will not even touch anything that's not alive because they figure in a weird way that thing is dead because of a poison or some kind of a sickness. I don't want to touch it. Not a water moccasin. No problem. So not only do you get a neurotoxin, hemotoxin, a myotoxin, you get tetanus. You get all kinds of other horrible things. So anyway, I don't want to go into this thing, but I love when sometimes, see, I was thinking about, Candace made me laugh today because whenever I talk, I have, of course, my song has a bridge, a chorus, a couple of lyrics, but a coda, goes back to the bridge again. It's not just a song, it's a movement. So all of a sudden she's talking about this and she's talking about, she got a letter from somebody and this and that. And then she got somebody, she's talking about parasites and I just loved it. And I thought to myself, you go. Because some people say, why is she changing the subject? I don't know why she's changing the subject. That's what people say. I don't understand this. Please change the subject. Please add on to the subject. Stop and provide an analogy, a metaphor. Please, I beg you. Please do this. Stop and do this. All right. What I mentioned the other day was the notion of what. It's very interesting. What Blake and what Andrew, and to an extent, be honest with you, Erika, they were parasites. Now they're scavengers. They're living off of the dead, off of the memory, off of the thoughts, the dreams, the imagination, the love, the history, the sadness. They're scavengers. They're like vultures and hyenas. And by the way, are you ready for this? I remember when I was a kid and I heard this, I thought this is the best thing because I love nature. And I love when evolution and years of fine tuning makes things makes sense. I told you growing up in Florida, we've got everything. We got every kind of rattlesnake and coral snakes and this and moccasins and possums and raccoon, just name it. Name alligators and a lot of stuff. And vultures, buzzards, anyway, so I forget where we were, but I was a kid. You know how a vulture has all kinds of feathers, kind of interesting feathers, plumage, but the head, there's no feathers here. It's like this. It's like it's wearing a skull cap. Have you noticed that? It's almost like it's wearing a skull cap or some kind of a protective headgear. I never really thought about it until the person that I was talking, the lecturer said, and we were always going on these field trips, which I love. Anyway, he said, that's so that when the vulture sticks his head into the blood and the goo and the putrescent, decomposing carrion, the thing, it can pull his head out, and this way it doesn't get matted in feathers, and he's going to stick his head in there. I thought that is so brilliant. Did evolution do that? Who knows? I'd like to think God would have a hand in that, but one never knows. Everything that we do, it is predation. It is predation. Yes, so he can work inside. Is that brilliant? Now, in the real world, there's also something which is very, very good. Saprophagy. Stephen Boland. Saprophagy. I love that. Saprophagy. Let us learn, children. Let us go and let us learn. Let me stop. Whenever I see, I want to get a clear saprophagy. Saprophagy is saprophage are organisms that obtain nutrients by consuming decomposing dead plant or animal biomass. They are distinguished from detritivores in that saprophages are sessile consumers, while detritivores, from the word detritus, are mobile. Interesting. Typical saprophagic animals include sedentary polychaetes such as amphitrites and terabellids. Isn't that wonderful? Whenever you hear the word phagy, whenever you hear that, that means eating. Coprophagy or coprophagia is eating merd. Autophagy is when you eat yourself. That's why you learn yoga. So you can get your head anyway, where you can eat. You can eat basically when you lose weight or you're whatever it is, you're fasting or whatever. By the way, fasting is a fantastic thing. Stop for a second. You know what's so interesting about fasting? Why I love this? It deals with the notion of hormesis. And that's another one too. You know, they say that what does not destroy me makes me stronger. That's absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. One of the things which is interesting is that I believe that every once a week, if people did this, because it's horrible to do this, you should do at least like a 24-hour. I've been doing this. Today I'm in one, and I'm going to be done tomorrow. And if I'm a little bit, it's because I'm in that latter stage. It's no big. It's no interesting. Somebody said that Gary from Paralyzed Tactical is a complete shill. Thank you. Yes, thank you, Stephen Salty. He is I don't even know what the point is. Let me say this one thing very quickly because this is completely. You might find this interesting. I hope you do, because with this you'll learn an analogy. Hormesis is when you test something, you toughen it up, and that's why. One of the reasons why when you are sick, when dogs are sick and people, sometimes they don't eat. They go out. They don't eat. You don't, it's not starve field to feed a fever. There's something about not eating, fasting, something happens. We eat too much. We drink, we do a lot of stuff too much. Give me an example very quickly. And then I'll get right back to this. The reasons why sometimes the real bitter greens are the best for you. There is nothing in the world better. If God ever said, this is what I want you to eat, is greens. I know it sounds like, they're boring. I didn't ask you whether they were boring. They are life-giving. And one of the reasons why, you know when you say a dark, like Tuscan kale, that dark green, even if it's a little bitter, that's what happens. It gets that to ward off or to act almost like not an insecticide, not like BT corn, but it builds up a kind of a bitterness to protect itself from insects and also from the sun, which is why grapes, red grapes, why do you think the skin changes color? To deal with the sun. That's hormesis. That's where you because of the stress, it creates this adaptation. That adaptation, they believe, is a part of resveratrol, which is why people always say red wine is good. So remember something. We're going to go full circle. And this is also very funny because, not funny, but I've got a friend of mine who's going through some very serious relationship issues. And we're talking about this, and that's kind of on my mind too, about how love is so wonderful, or it can destroy you. Just like it's the damnedest thing, which leads us to back to Candace, back to whatever it is. Now, back to Charlie. So let's go back to this one now, very quickly. I'm sorry. This is the way I am. All right. I'm in hormesis, right? I'm in autophagy, as we say. By the way, when you lose weight, what do you lose? Quick question. Answer very quickly. What do you lose? Is it water? Is it flesh? How do you lose flesh? Just because you people lose weight, you'll starve. What is it? Where did it go? Does it melt? Why does it melt? Where'd it go? When you lose 5 pounds, where is that? Where is it? Not body mass. Nope, not water mass, not fat cells. No. Where is not water? No. How is it expelled? Carbon dioxide. That's what's left. That's the part. Look it up. It's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Boobs. All right. Somebody somewhere decided they're going to keep Andrew Kolvet and Blake on for reasons I can't figure out. If they were out of the picture, you wouldn't be having any of these problems. Nothing. You would have somebody says, hello, I'm in charge of TPUSA, and we're doing some wonderful programs at schools, and here's what we're doing, and thank you for being a part of this, and please donate to TPUSA. That's what I think they would be doing. Erika. All Erika would have to do would come out and say, listen, do me a favor. If you insist upon this, you can do this. But you're not going to talk about yourself. You're not going to talk about how strong you are. You're going to read about Galatians or the Bible or Jesus or something. And you're going to talk nothing about, not you, but them. You will look stronger. They will love you. They will say, now that's a woman. That's a woman. She's not even talking about herself. She's talking about the bigger story. She's talking about Charlie's legacy. And theoretically, I would tell them, and by the way, Erika, whether this is true or not, I would say, this will drive Candace crazy. This will drive Candace crazy. Whether it's true or not is a different story. My dear friend Zamet said, mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the front of them all? Very, very funny. So my question is, why don't people do this? Why aren't people able to strategize? You know, there's tactics and strategy, two completely different concepts. Why don't they do this? Why do they continue to allow, this is important, why do they continue to allow the role of the organization to suffer from this? And I'll tell you why. Number one, stupid. Never, ever, ever lose sight of the fact of how stupid people are. Stupid doesn't mean a degree. Stupid doesn't mean, you know, I've read books or I've got a vocabulary or, no. One of the greatest forms that nature will provide in terms of being smart is strategy and being able to look and recognize the field, the jungle, the woods, the Serengeti, the whatever the hell that is, to figure out how to do this. Very few people ever learn the basis of whether it's a relationship, whether it's raising your kids or whether doing a job, to go in there with a strategy and even to adopt a particular position that it kills you inside because you feel you loathe this person so much. That is smart. That is nature. That is survival. That's bigger than smart. That's bigger than smart could ever be. That's huge. And one of the things which people don't understand is that these people are so stupid and they're so spoiled and they're so solipsistic. You know, they only think of them, they're the only self-referential thing. They refer everything to themselves by and through themselves. They don't understand anything other than themselves. That's it. It's selfish. They're not psychopaths. They're not that smart, and they're also immature, and they don't really know. Some people, it takes a long time. It takes a very, very long time to sit there and to really say, I've been through this. That, my friend, is one of the greatest parts about age. And it's not wisdom, it's judgment. And that is what getting older by living and making as many mistakes as you possibly can. Go out there and you make mistakes. You can't possibly learn something unless you make a mistake. You can't. It means nothing to you. If you ever play chess, unless you've lost a queen or something, you don't even know what that concept means. They don't understand this. You have to make a mistake. Little side note. I forget what the particular study was, but neurologists were looking at groups of people. One of them was younger people, however that was defined in the particular design of this. And the other one was older people. Okay. And they wanted to see what is the difference between them. And it was a skill, like what did younger people do in terms of neurological? And they were very good at whack-a-mole. Did you ever see kids? I never learned this. I dictate. I can't do this. I never thought about it. I might go like this, but thumbs, no. Did you ever read the great, as a kid, I read this, Of Thumbs, a great little short, about getting rid of a thumb. They would cut your thumb out. Remember, they would also do this thing where when you would shoot a bow and arrow, you needed this finger to pluck the U was considered the bow. This was pluck the U. I'm only showing this YouTube just to that they would cut this off. So you couldn't, you would have to use this anyway. So it's one of those, and that's where they pluck you. It's a bit apocryphal, but it sounds interesting. So what I'm trying to say in this rather elliptical way of thinking is that there are sometimes when you get older, things are better. So anyway, so when it came to young people, they're very good at doing whack-a-mole stuff. What older people were better at, and I've told you this a million times, but I'm going to tell you 1,000,001. Remember when you were in the doctor's office, they had highlights. Did you ever see that? Did they have that when you were a kid? Highlights magazine. It was this terrible thing because they had no they didn't have TVs. Now you're in a doctor's office and you look up, how you they call your name and go, in a minute, can I get this? Take somebody else. I'm watching, you've got your phones but they had highlights magazine. The highlights, they had two pictures, seemingly identical. And they said, which one's different? Which one's different? And older people were better than that. I am so much better now at saying like, who I haven't heard from lately? Who's, and I notice things that are different. What's missing? What's new? And that's called judgment. What is judgment? Being able to look at something and to identify why this is different than this. So that when you're making a decision in life, go this way. Don't do this. Do this instead. We make choices. We know different. Believe me, we've been there, rather. It's not that we're smarter, but and then when it comes to love and things like that, forget it. You can throw it all away. Because I'm seeing people friends of mine who are older actually acting like teenagers. Because, by the way, one more thing. Love is a great reducer. Love will bring you back to teenage status. Puppy love, infatuation, bring you right back down again. I don't care how old you are. You say you're not going to. You say, well, I'm beyond that. Especially people who were married and then they date again. Oh, they're worse. They're worse than teenagers. They're crazy. Because love is the thing which is the most fascinating, which leads me back to what I said last night. Candace and Charlie loved each other, not in the classical prototypically romantic way. That's something which, no. If I know that my wife has had friends, one friend who are gay, and they're it's almost like you've seen it before, like brothers and sisters. In fact, the old joke used to be, if your wife doesn't have a gay friend, get one for her. They'll just, I'm not saying this, but they'll take a lot of time. You want to go to the wedding? Take Jerome. I don't care about that. But then there are other people, believe it or not, who, and I think this is sad. There are some people who are not gay, but they're very, very close. They can be close to your spouse, and they shouldn't pose a threat. Let me say something about jealousy. Jealousy and envy. They're just as bad. People love to say, well, jealousy is when I think you're taking something away, and envy, nah. Don't even, to me, it's all, call it jealousy, call it envy, whatever it is. Envy is kind of like you've got something that I want, and jealousy is maybe you're trying to take something. To me, like you're jealous of somebody. Like for example, if somebody that you hate gets the big position, gets a big whatever, you're going to be jealous of them and envious. So I never understood the distinction. That's like stuttering and stammering. What the hell's the difference? I don't know. Whatever. But there is something here which is very, very unique. And that is that when it comes to love, this thing, hate is simple. Somebody wrote in the prior, I wish we'd have gone there. Hate is very simple. Hate doesn't last. Hate doesn't last. Revenge lasts. Adjusting history lasts. But not hatred. I don't even know what hatred means. Hatred, I think, is very evanescent. I don't think it lasts very long. Love is a very interesting thing, too. Because Candace, and it must kill her. You don't know. She's a very tough woman. But you can tell, we're talking about her friend all the time. I swear, this is so weird. Have any of you, just tell me yes or no, have any of you ever thought that Charlie's still alive? Have any of you ever thought he's still alive? You got to remind yourself he's dead because I'm seeing him all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's you see him all the time. I hear him so much, and he's talking about Candace, and it's the I don't know what the word is. It's this. It must be so tough because he's talking about her. And he's dead. And because of YouTube and everything else, they live forever. I got to tell you something. I watch videos of Gordon Soley, and it's just, oh my, we were just the close. He was a wrestling announcer. I mean, we were just, we bounced around like you cannot. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm just going to leave it at that. Wild. Let me tell you, during my heyday, that's right, old Uncle Lionel. He not proud of it, but we had those were the days, the salad days, so to speak. But it's so weird when I hear his voice. It's like he's alive. It's weird to think that all of us right now, one day, in some future, some cloud, somebody's gonna look back and say, "Who was this person? Who were these people?" Maybe they'll rediscover it. Anyway, so back to Candace. I believe that there's a part of her that. And I'm going to say this to her, and I'm going to say this, and I'm sure she's well ahead of me, and I'm sure her husband George probably does this too. As I'm telling my friend, I do not believe in therapy. I believe in analysis. I don't mean psychoanalysis. I mean understanding it. Let me give you this little bit of advice. Remember I told you this, and remember you will thank me for it one day. When something is really bothering you, you're hurt, you're sad, you're disappointed, whatever it is, when you're by yourself, and you can do this outside, you can put these things in, you can, actors, people, in the old days when you walk down the street and you're talking to yourself, people would call the police. Put your thing in. By the way, use wire. Don't put transmitters in your ear. Come on, next to your brain. Stop it. Anyway, but if you walk around with this, you can talk here. And I think the problem is this. My problem is that I can't deal with the fact that I feel inferior. And they say, oh, and in some parts of the area, we have people who are acting. What I want you to do is this. I want you to promise me. I want you to start off by explaining how you feel to somebody who's not there. Imagine they're there, and I want you to explain this to them. And they say, what's the matter? What's the matter? Okay? And by the way, please do not dismiss therapy. Please do not do this. Do not be cute, quippy. It is invaluable. It has, like a lot of things, changed people's lives. It saved them. I know people love to poo-poo. Oh, psychiatry is crazy. And no. Many of us in the conspiratorium realm have this thing about SSRIs. Hate them. And they have saved lives. I guarantee you there are people listening to us now and people who are listening to us later who have been depressed, and SSRIs saved their life because it affected their serotonin drops. Absolutely. The reuptake. Absolutely. So be very careful when you just dismiss something whole cloth. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. Going back to what I'm saying, ask yourself this, and I hope Candace does this too. I'm sure she does, or something similar to this. Before you go to anything, pretend you've got to explain this. Why do I say this? First, the worst thing you can do is to say something and let it circulate in your brain. Or you think you're thinking about it, you're not. You're in loops. You're not thinking about anything. It's not, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just going around. You're kind of thinking about moments. It's just explosion of reaction. You think you're thinking, no, you're not. When you have to explain it, you have to force yourself into putting into words that which you believe. And it's tough. And I want you, you've hit pay dirt when you say, I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. Why? I can't even explain it. So plus you'll save some money going to a therapist. But what is it that you feel? I had a friend of mine one time who said, I'm a little, I don't like speaking in public. And I said, by the way, you know what the number one learned human fear is? Of course, it's swallowing hair. It's a joke. It's speaking in public. I said, well, let me ask you something. What is your worst fear? He said, well, is it making a fool out of yourself? He said, no, not really. People laughing at you? Doing a bad job? And when we got done, he said, I don't even know. Well, tell me what it is that you fear. Tell me what you feel in your head and tell me what your fear is. What is it? What is it? He couldn't answer the question. I don't know. I said, well, there you go. You're responding to something else. Now, if somebody says, I'm afraid of jumping out of skydiving. Why? I could die. That's good. That's a good one. Sometimes they're easy like that. Sometimes also, I've always loved when people lose somebody. My friend of mine now, heartbroken. I said, what is it that tell me what it is. I miss her. No. You were fighting and all this, they're going crazy and all this stuff. What is it? What do you miss? What do you miss? And it turns out it's a combination of everything. Loneliness. There is nothing like the sound of your home when somebody has died. A relationship has died. When your dog dies, when your cat, when they're not there. The sound of not silence, but absence. What does that mean? What does that make? What does that mean? What does the sound of nothing mean? It's not there anymore. When you come in and you realize she's not there, he's not there. You turn the light on, she's not there. I put the keys up, the keys aren't there anymore. He's not there. There's a song called Bluer Than Blue, Michael Johnson. Have you ever heard this? It is the most beautiful song. It's about now that you're gone. I got a lot more room in my closet. Now that you're gone, I can stay out all night long if I feel like it. And I can run around the house screaming, and nobody's there to hear me. But I'm bluer than blue, sadder than sad. You're the only light this empty room has ever had. Life without you is going to be bluer than blue. It's just, and he talks about, this is great. I can change the numbers on my phone. I don't have to worry. I can do whatever I want. I can date again. Even I don't want to date again. That's intellectualizing, which is another thing too, which we do as a defense mechanism. We try to contrive certain things. We try to come up with things that go, all right. So what we're doing too is, I have felt a sense of loss from Charlie as well. I'm not even going to compete Candace or anybody else for that matter. But what I'm saying is there is a part of me that's very, very sad and very, very angry and very, very vengeful. Oh, they said that revenge is a dish best served cold. I don't know if it's cold, lukewarm, frozen, hot, boiling, out of the oven, in Pyrex. There is a wonderful feeling, not the best thing in the world, but to see somebody who did some terrible thing get what they deserve. I've got a friend of mine who is this Christian evangelical. He says, I want, this really freaked me. He goes, I want to see Tyler get the death penalty. He deserves it. I said, well, you think Jesus is for the death penalty? Jesus, he knows a little bit about this. I said, and he was guilty because he was the Son of God. And I thought, wow. Another thing too, the mechanism. This guy, forgive and judge not, lest ye be. This guy's a walking. He knows the Bible inside. He wants Tyler. I thought, wow. Again, more fascinating. Again, this is the most interesting case there is. It's not. It's the facts, but it's the way we react to this. Virgos are very vengeful. Okay. If you say so. If that is your sole goal. But I believe in consequence. And consequence is my big name. Do you know what a psychopath does not have? Consequence. A sense of consequence. If I do this, this will or could happen. They can't do that. Their head and their heart are disconnected. Somebody who's anxious, somebody who is, it's the opposite of almost depressed, if you will, but somebody who's anxious will think 20 different disaster patterns because their head and heart are connected. Too much. They say, would you just do this? Oh, no. What if they find out? What if I get caught? What if I look stupid? What if I hurt myself? What if, my God, do something. Then if you don't have that, you're a psychopath. One of the major, the reason why a psychopath lies, it's not because he's a bad person. It's just, well, why should I tell the truth? You see, the reason why you don't lie is why. Don't give me that morality. Don't give me that, because no. The main reason is if you lie, you'll get caught. You'll hurt somebody's feelings. Something will happen. It's not about you. You don't internalize it. You're not like, no. Nobody will know. It's all about me. No, it's about you getting caught, hurting somebody's feelings, embarrassing your family, doing something, going back to prison. Here's now. And you've got to look to the future and say, see, psychopath doesn't do this. They're great heroes. They're wonderful. But like Trump's not a psychopath. No. Trump's not a psychopath. Absolutely not. There are some people who Trump may say, I just don't care. I recognize this, but what I'm doing to do my particular job, I can't worry about this. Let me give you an example. Dwight Eisenhower said one time, well, somebody was interviewing him, and he was at some chalet or something, wherever this French place was. And he says, well, you see that? Today I find out whether I send in 2,000 to be killed or 3,000. We're going to lose 2,000 men. And I don't know if it's going to be here or here. And it was like, do I move the rose bush here? Or do I change it? He wasn't a psychopath at all. Not at all. He said, this is the way it is. I've done this. In order to be a general, you can't sit around and do this. And what Trump will tell you is that Trump will say he also has been contaminated by being rich, being loved, being famous, being all this other stuff. Oh, don't get me wrong. Sometimes he said some things that were just like harmful, but he's not a psychopath. A psychopath is a different thing. The psychopath is also trying to coerce you, to put one over on you. Trump doesn't care. A psychopath cares. He's always trying. It's a different thing. Do me a favor. Spend some time, read up on it. Just lose the word. I guarantee you, if you're using the word psychopath, it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. It's not that. There are so many things that mimic it, because we always have this idea about this cold, mean. That's not it. It's a very rare, maybe less than 10% of the population even have it. And of the less than 10% of the population that has it, they don't hurt anybody. They don't hurt. Now, what I want to talk about this is, let's go back to this. The Andrews and the Blake the Flake, what's their story? They're stupid, they're immature, they're juvenescent, they're puerile, they're sophomoric, they're jejune, they're stupid. They're not wise. They don't care about the bottom line. They don't care about the organization. They don't care about TPUSA. They don't care about Charlie's legacy. They don't care about anything. They're in the immediate. They're right now. They're like a children, like an impetuous child. And by the way, in many respects, a child before that, that sense of right or wrong, they're feral psychopaths. They have no sense of, the baby just takes what he wants and care, and I want this. Okay. Then you figure, well, he's a baby. Well, sometimes people don't grow out of it. So why do we still have that? Why is this guy impractical, tactical, schmactical? Why does he have on that woman who, please forgive me because I don't follow, I don't really, the names are all fungible. But the woman who came up and said, "Oh, I didn't interview a Daily Mail." Yeah, you did. Stacy or whatever her name is. I didn't do that. Yeah, you did. Why? Why do they do that? Why do these people do this? Why? Why do they not understand that they are killing? They're making it worse for themselves. I'm serious. I want to know this. I don't understand it. Erika is the most, no matter what anybody says, the most fascinating thing. See, I've always asked people, what would you do if you talked to Erika? And I never get the right answer. They always ask questions like, you think she's going to tell you the truth? You think if you ask Erika, well, I'm going to say, why didn't you, did you ever think about Charlie? She's not going to say anything to hurt herself. She's going to get mad at you. You go and you turn the radar off. You let her, it's the way that hostage negotiator works. And the first thing I would do is if you met her, the first thing you would do is you would sit there and you would say, may I just say, and she doesn't know the context of this, but if I'm doing a show and I hope she wouldn't pick up on it, I would say to her, may I just say to you, and I mean this, that I appreciate so much of what you've done, what you represent, and the struggle that you've had to endure. So if you don't mind me saying that, first of all, she'll say, no, go ahead. She'll love that. Does that bother you when people say they admire you? Because you do know that more people admire you than you can imagine. Now, you're going to be throwing up. You're going to be listening to this. You're going to say, what the hell happened to him? You're going to say, what happened to Lenny? What happened to him? What happened to him? I'm going to lower the guard. Well, what is the hardest part about being you? That's when you'll see her. Oh, you like it? Yes. How do you do it? How much do you think? Now, if I ask you the question, if I said to you, do you think that, I like when somebody says, Barron's on. Why don't you go? I know people don't want to be me. I know you don't mean anything by it. That is the rudest thing. I'm just saying. And people they don't mean to be. They don't mean to be. Robert Elliott, I know you don't mean to be this. That is so rude. She's on. We're gonna go. Hey, here's somebody you should watch. It's like standing up at a Broadway play and saying, there's a show down the street. It's half price. It's starting about now. Much better than this. What are you doing? See, people aren't trying to be mean. They're just rude because nobody thinks they think about just themselves, about just being in your own little thing. And it's okay. It's no big deal. I'm serious. I understand. I understand completely. But anyway, but when you see her and you listen to her, she's the most fascinating person anybody's ever seen. And you're not going to know her unless and until I bring it out. I want it to be full. Nobody ever, Barry Weiss didn't ask her that. Harris Faulkner didn't ask her that. Nobody. I want that. I would ask her questions you would throw up until you heard the answer. And one of the things is, if you want to find out what she thinks of herself, compliment her for what she says. For example, is it difficult for a beautiful woman, somebody who's very, very naturally attractive, to garner and to maintain the respect of others and have to negotiate the jealousy and the resentment? Because as you know, people who say being attractive is what everybody wants, but as you know, it can be a curse. Now, if I said that to you, you would say, what are you talking about? Attractive? What do you think? You would laugh at me because your sense of self-esteem is such, and you realize, first of all, you think I'm blowing smoke up your ass. And number two, you would never be so stupid and so vainglorious as to fall for that, ever. But she wouldn't. You see, my friend, it comes down to this. It's called being not the mastermind, but outsmarting. Finding people and looking at them. How do I say this? Like, for example, if you interviewed, like I still think, and I wish I could have done more of this, but I felt weird, but I talked to, for the most part, Candace, I would never, ever, 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 I don't want to talk about me. I'm going to talk about you. But I didn't know, she might have felt weird. Like, she just did a show, and I'm going to ask her, like, where are you from? And who was the biggest disappointment in your life? Things like, I love that stuff. I love it. What's the nicest thing anybody ever did for you? What's the nicest thing? When you were a kid, what did you think about this? Did you ever think about the responsibility of this? What do you hate about this? What's the biggest thing? If you had to talk to your high school class and you had to go and speak to them, what would you tell them? What have you learned? That stuff I could listen to all day long, but you can only do it to a point where people would say, this is getting creepy because you're sounding, what do you, and also, and I'm going to say this with all due respect, not so much in her case, but men, be very careful that when you speak to women, don't give them the wrong impression. Two things can happen. Number one, they get offended and think you're coming on to them when you're kind of creepy. Or number two, they like it and want you to come on to them. And you're thinking, oh, no, hey, no. You've got to have like barriers, I like men who say, well, I'm married and been married for 35 years and I never had any, nobody ever wanted you, that kind of thing. It's very easy, sometimes for people who walk around and if you look like an onion ring, it's very difficult. But what I'm saying is, going back to this, who would not be interesting to talk to is, very frankly, Laura Loomer. Did you see Laura Loomer met with Zelensky? Did you see that today? Laura Loomer? She met with Zelensky. Dear God, did he have any? He must be wondering, what's the matter with these people? Laura Loomer met with him. Why? She was against Ukraine. Now she is. She does. She, by the way, there is nothing to say. It'd be like, and I don't want to, how do I say this? I don't want to make any comparison. I'm not, but some of the most boring interviews ever were people with Charles Manson. They're boring because he's going to act crazy. And I'm not saying she's Charles Manson. I'm not even saying she's crazy, but she's not going to say, there's got to be something there that you kind of are interested in, kind of like the humanity of stuff. And one of the things which is the most interesting, and I think she would appreciate, is that she recognizes the fact that this particular story, if you want to get involved in it, you've got to go beyond just the story of who killed who and ballistics gel. That is so, I mean, it's interesting. Don't get me wrong. But there's only so much you can do to do with it. What fascinates me is something beyond that, even beyond that. The people. Why is this case so different? Why is this different than anything we've ever seen? Why are the parties, secretaries say, what do you want to do? You want to play, like I told you, remember the first part is the whodunit, second part is the trial. The third part really is kind of Candace, and then the fourth might be something about the way social media has played a role into it. But why do you find this? Let me ask you something. Why do you find this so fantastic? Why do you find this interesting? Give me a word. Give me one word, or as many words as you want. Why? By the way, Baron's on. You want to hurry up? Just kidding. Why do you find this? Why? What is it? What compels you to this? What is the thing about this? You're in it. You're fascinated by it. You can't get enough of it. What is it? Explain this to me. I got hit between the eyes with a baseball because I missed it. I don't know what that means. You missed it. Maybe there's something else. Justed. Okay, you won justed. All right, that's interesting. There's a better word, though. Exposure of the elite. Ooh, that's good. Forget the one word. You can say more than one word. Manson is uninteresting. Absolutely. Uninteresting. Exposure of the corruption. That's part of it. It means being able to go back and talk things out to clear misunderstanding. Okay, there's somebody else. That's Robert. But I think that's, what is it about this that makes you fascinate you? Why? Truth? Truth is a very thing. See, that's not it. Depravity. Thank you. Monica says depravity is fascinating. Depravity is fascinating. Depravity, fascinating story, real life crime. Yes. Rosie Keeney's got it. It's true crime. And it's real. And it's probably as, and tomorrow we're going to talk about who really did it. Let me give you a little tip off here. How many of you agree with the following proposition? The people who killed Charlie, you don't know them yet. It's none of the above. It's not them. Any chance of that? The real killers are laughing their ass off. The real killers are laughing. The real killers they're just looking at you like, you got to be kidding me. Tyler Robinson. Think about it. The real killers, the people. And I don't mean just, but why and how and why. This is the most important thing in the world. Why is it that, why? What is this about? It's so easy right now. It's either Israel, because Israel is mad at Charlie because Charlie, was going to try to dissuade Trump or turn legions of potential young voters against either Israel or against AIPAC or against the further funding or whatever it is. That's one thing. Two, it could be Tyler Robinson. He's the guy who did this because he was so offended at what Charlie said regarding transgenders. Three, it could be what I always find interesting, somebody within I keep saying Doge, somebody within TPUSA, somebody who said, you're not going to let this gravy train because Charlie risked or was threatening doing a full Doge audit. And that also can mean, among other things, inter alia, it could mean people going to jail. And then we have other people as well. You can have somebody who does it to make somebody look bad, almost like a not a false flag, but a kind of a distraction, or somebody who just said, I think it's time to mix it up. I think it's time to just mix it up a little bit. And there are people who say, you know what? Imagine this conversation. What about it? You want to hear about it? Charlie? Yeah. How? In front of everybody. Something really tasty. And exploding something. And then you'll have all this fighting and this screaming, and they'll be yelling at each other, and the left and the right, and this and that. This is what we want. We want to destroy. We want to just destroy everything. Because right now, left and right is. The world is changing right now. Changing the subject a little bit. Everybody hates this Zoran Mamdani. Everybody hates this Zoran Mamdani. They can't stand this guy. This communist bastard. Commie bastard. I had his quote on my phone, what he said about wanting to arrest Netanyahu. And I said, and I knew this guy hated Mamdani. But he's like me. He's an America First person, which is kind of simplistic. But I don't want to give money to Ukraine, Israel, anybody for that matter. I want to hear. Every time your car hits a speed bump, every time there's a school that needs better security, have we made our schools secure? Have we made our school secure? No. We can make every school in the United States secure by having one entrance, one ingress, egress, locking all back doors, cameras, and very simple. I promise you, I could have, on a voluntary basis, either retired military or retired police who are there in uniform, who are right there to say, if anybody has any interest in hurting a child, I'm here heavily armed. I'm not a school resource officer. I'm not going to help out with, the birthday parties. You don't even know my name. I'm here from the beginning of the day, whatever. And I know, any killer knows I'm seconds away. Not arming the teachers. No. Yeah, we'll have metal detectors. That's great. But you got to come in one door and you got to go through me, and you will see me right there. There are people who would say, I'll do it in a heartbeat. I don't even care how tactically trained they are, just standing there. Some guy's going to say, I don't know. See, it's one thing when you go in, you can walk through the halls. They don't know anything. It takes a while just for them to call this up. Hey, there's somebody shooting here. We could do that in a heartbeat, but we're not doing that because we're pissing all this money away and stuff that doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. We really could be putting more to, seriously, we could do a lot to help people regarding drug rehabilitation. Absolutely. Free needles. I'm not sure. Anyway, but still, we could do a lot of this and get rid and clean out half of the prisons. There are a lot of drugs. And also, we need to double up. Who agrees with me? We need to double up, double down, and start warehousing crazy people. We need to open up the Creedmoors and the Bellevues and the state mental institutions. In Florida, we had this thing called Chattahoochee. Chattahoochee was the state mental hospital. And you went there, and we watched you, but he would say, you can't get out because you're going to hurt somebody. And this may look like a prison, it's true, but that's it. This is bullshit about letting them go. Restorative justice. All of this could be done. Is it right wing? I don't give a damn what you want to call it. That's what we need. Not Israel, not Ukraine, none of this stuff. This has nothing to do with us. Nothing. So anyway, I'm talking to a friend of mine. So I read what Mamdani said about Israel, but he didn't know. I said, guess who said this? I said, Zoran. Mamdani said this. The guy you hate. Listen to that. I said, damn. I said, yeah. So this is all weird. And see what we're doing is when we're talking about Charlie, when we're talking about this, we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the interstitial, the complexity of everything, of life, looking at motivation, targeting reason, targeting the end result. What is going on here? It's fun to think and to expand and always ask yourself, what do I believe in? When you're taking a shower or a bath, by the way, I'm a shower guy. Shower or bath. What is it? Come on. Shower or bath. I can't take a bath to save my life. I hate that soaking. Get me out of here. Tubs and whirlpools. Get me out. Shower or bath? Just curious. Just curious. Don't ask me. It's a stupid question, but I'm feeling kind of stupid. And I'm fasting right now. I'm in my last stages or whatever. See, shower. Both baths are gross. Absolutely. Shower. Yep. Shower almost every day. I have a jacuzzi tub I never use. Yep. Shower. But I'm going for a hot tub soap. Okay. Think about that. See, I think women love that. Shower. Absolutely. Shower. Both. And Natalie, come on, make up your mind. Make up your mind. What do you mean? I hate that tub. Ugh. Shower. Absolutely. Shower. Yep. Bubble bath. Oh. There's toy. Toys is, but that's not it. Where's toy? There we go. Toy Caldwell. Hang on. There's toy. Bubble bath. Come on. That was fun when you were a kid, kind of, sort of. Maybe. Bubble bath, baby. Oh, please. Shower. Shower's way to go. I'm so fast. I know exactly what I'm doing. Look at Monica still there. We love you too. Shower once a month. Whether I need it or not. I have to bathe shower every day. Every day. Every day. Once is good. That's it. Absolutely. I go berserk. If I feel like, I just knew. And when you get out, and that's why I realized that when you're sitting there and you have like there's nothing like clean sheets out of the shower. Fantastic. And I realized how many people who are mentally ill would feel so much better if they had a place to shower. I mean, I think if they had a place to shower, it's invigorating. It's also part of the psychological part of baths too, I guess, but ablution, undoing and unwinding and return to the womb and buoyancy and all this other kind of stuff. There's all kinds of symbolism, but there's something to be said for that. And there's something that is just, I'm just curious. Mom Donnie is there because the politicians failed. No. Well, maybe. Mom Donnie is there because people are changing. And the demographics, he wouldn't work in, Fort Worth, Texas, but in New York, he knows exactly what's going on. You understand what I'm saying? It's not a failure. It was a selection. And remember something. I know what people said about Trump. I understand that. And Trump's acting like a damn fool now, and I understand that. But people said, it's like, you don't understand. So it's time for Trump. Yeah, but you're crazy. No. In any event, my friends, I thank you. I'm so sorry about today's thing being so crazy, so nuts. I'll tell you what happens one day when I'm really bored. But anyway, tomorrow, think about this. Here's your assignment. We're going to meet at 9 a.m. class. We're going to be back. I want to talk about who are the other alternative theories of who was responsible for this. Think about this. Very, very important. Who were the other people who might have been involved for the assassination, the targeted assassination of Charlie Kirk? And none of the above. Okay, think about that. Hang on. There you go. That's it. There we go. That's it. All right. Yes, ma'am. All right, my friends. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Have a great and glorious day. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please hit that little bell so you're notified of live streams and new videos and all that other kind of stuff. Make sure you subscribe. And thank you. Thank you. I am, if there's one thing that I will say, this is so terrible to think that's something, but I have never met a better group of people because of this subject. We've had other stuff before, 9/11 and this and that, but never like this because you are aces. And I mean that sincerely. All right, my friends. See you tomorrow. Until then, remember, monkey's dead. Show's over. Sue you.